Hi, I'm Andrea Clem, and you are watching Turn to the Stars. And today I'm going to be talking about the uh, full moon that is occurring on October 24th. And it's a very significant full moon because of Uranus's placement right next to it. And this is the chart that I'm going to be walking through for you and explaining how the planets are interacting and how that energy is overall affecting us. And truly, we are receiving new information about what we've been experiencing for the last year. And that's because of Jupiter's path through Scorpio. And as you can see on this chart to the top right, we actually have 4 planets in Scorpio at this time, and the sun and moon on this full moon, as always, is going to be in opposite places in our sky. And we're going to have Venus in Scorpio right next to the sun in Scorpio, and it is deep into its retrograde, meaning that we are really reviewing lots of very intense emotional things that really are under the microscope for review. And we also have Mercury in Scorpio, which is, we're talking a lot about our value systems, other people's value systems, our value systems, things that we're moving through on a very deep, sensitive, emotional level. And as you can see with the chart that you're looking at on the screen, the full moon is going to be in Taurus, so money, finances, what has meaning to it right now is going to be front and center. And as I said, I'm going to be walking you through the Taurus full moon that you see in this universal chart, meaning it's energy that affects everyone, and discovering what the planets are conversing about. And as you can see, the full moon on the bottom left of the chart, it looks like a crescent, and then there's a symbol next to it that looks like an hourglass, and that's Uranus. And it is what we call conjunct the full moon. And this is something that I would call an earth-shaking aspect, because Uranus being right beside this full moon is telling us that there's something that is revolutionary, something that's being awakened within our souls, something that's being awakened for us emotionally, something that maybe that we're suddenly remembering. And this is what's shaking up the planet, as Taurus is about the Earth's resources. It's about what we value. So this is about our money. This full moon is really shaking up our money. And it's really encouraging or inspiring us to ask ourselves, what do we want? And where do you feel stable, even amongst these changes? Because Taurus is a very stable sign. It's a very grounded sign. It's a very Venusian sign. So relationships is also highlighted here, especially with the opposition to the Sun and Venus. And Venus is relationships, resources. So resources are really highlighted at this time. This full moon is asking us to check in on our self-worth, our self-love. This full moon is asking us to check in on our money, and on our worthiness. It encourages us to check in on how much we love ourselves. Money and worthiness is an energy experience, and It is truly an experience like other experiences are, but because of the way the world is structured and has been structured around us, it doesn't seem like that. It seems like it's an emotional experience, but truly it is a worthiness experience. So this full moon activates that part of us that we are emotionally meant to interact with. You're meant to realize these emotions so that you can get some tangible results of what we place value on. Venus is the ruler of this full moon as it's in Taurus, so woman and money and receiving messages you receive about worthiness from other people is really going to be magnified. And if you notice in the chart, the Sun, Venus, Mercury, and Jupiter are all in Scorpio, and that's a very passionate sign, a very driven sign, and motivated by what it can create, because Scorpio is what we absorb from other people and their resources. So we have a value or a reassessing of values going on here. Scorpio is about what we were told by others. I spoke about this in a past article or in a past video. These beliefs that other people told us can only remain true if we continue to subscribe to those old belief systems. So what we're looking at right now is what we can make powerful. Scorpio is about the power we have within ourselves. And this energy can first show up as fear. And so we have to look at what our fears are around money. Do you have fears around trusting yourself? What are those fears? With Venus retrograde, we find ourselves digging through our fears, looking into the shadows and into parts of ourselves that we didn't realize were there. So we're realizing much more about our relationship with money and our relationship with ourselves. So there's this interesting reflective energy on what you want to believe for yourself versus what you were taught or told, or how you behaved in the past. This is a shaking up of your sense of self in the world and your sense of power. And just before this full moon, the Sun would have been exactly opposing Uranus. And you can see that, the Sun is up on the top right side of the chart. And, so just before the full moon came, Uranus was at 0 Taurus, and that is something drastic. So it indicates something drastic or big is changing, possibly in the world market. Something's being revealed, something comes out. This can shake up our resources, where our money goes, and it also shakes up power systems, and it shakes out secrets. As I said earlier, we've got 4 planets in Scorpio. And these 4 planets are asking you to dig into what is moving through your psyche. Brings up what needs to heal. Realizing your fears. Identifies where you're not tapping into your power. What is it that's taking you away from standing in your power? And so you can rework all of this. And this is quite big for everyone. So Mercury will move to be conjunct Jupiter, meaning very close to it in Scorpio. So this means we're going to receive new information. That's what Mercury is about, information. And it's going to be new information about what we've been working on for the last year. The fears you've been working on for a year now. Whatever you've been emotionally pushing through, that's been intense or heavy, and you've been wanting to find an end to. So we discover there's this deeper knowledge, and it does come forth during this time. This is an energy that can bring revelations. Mercury joining together with Jupiter brings in the new story. On this full moon, we're writing a new story for ourselves. This is based on what we feel is our true sense of self-love, and this is something bigger than you were ever told or taught. So this full moon is showing us that we're stronger than we ever realized, and this full moon is actually going to show us that and show us how we feel that. We'll see what outside of us we need to be trusting. Scorpio energy shows us what we can trust about people and situations. You know, it's like the detective. We can see through situations. So you'll be encouraged to follow what you're feeling. Your intuition will be strong with all these planets in Scorpio. Scorpio is a water sign, and the intensity it brings will take us deep, and this is where we'll find understanding. Now, at the same time, you can see in this chart, at right about 12 o'clock, Saturn in Capricorn is very, you know, it's supportive at this time because it's forming what we call a sextile to Venus. And that is a signature of stability. Saturn is also in a trine to Uranus and the full moon in Taurus. So what Saturn is helping us to do is to think long term. It reminds us to be mature and to say no sometimes, because maybe later down the road as we re-examine things, we might say yes, but for right now we need to be conservative. And maybe eliminate things that are too much. Don't overdo. Saturn keeps us aware of what we can handle to honor our responsibilities and our commitments, and it's grounding us. You know, Saturn is encouraging us to think about the long term, think about where we're going, think about what really matters to us down the road. Make your decisions based upon your examination or focus on what's long term, and allow yourself to feel strong in what has come up for you through these new realizations. And just before this full moon, Mercury and Jupiter formed a sextile to Pluto in Capricorn at 18 degrees, which provided a deeper understanding of what was happening below the surface or deep within ourselves. And we, you know, it indicates that we can have a breakthrough and that we can realize what we didn't see before. And that we'll feel a sense that things have changed, things have transformed, and realize that what has happened, what we've learned, is important through these difficult times. And if you're feeling like you've been walking through a dark tunnel, this energy is meant to support you to rise back up, because Jupiter is just about done its journey through Scorpio, and it will move into Sagittarius on November 7th. And this is when it happens that we realize that this pathway through Scorpio has helped us to move forward so that we don't feel like we're holding on to things. Jupiter in Sagittarius is going to help us to let go. It's going to help us to see the bigger picture. We'll receive a new understanding, a new and more positive and enthusiastic, motivating scene or picture of the future. So very soon there's going to be parts of the Scorpio energy that we're experiencing right now that's going to be changing. We'll feel different. We'll feel like we're going through a rebirth, like the phoenix. You know, in Harry Potter, the symbolism of the phoenix is death and rebirth, which is associated with Scorpio energy. So this year has been a long year with moving through the energy of Scorpio. And if we, you know, can see that in hindsight, And when we do see it in hindsight, it will remind us that there's always gifts in the darkness and deep within us. This is where